Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Home Office. I'm Anika Chapin. I am Goodspeed's Artistic Associate, and I am your virtual host for the evening. As you know, if you're watching this, you've probably seen others. This is a little conversation series we do so that we can connect with writers who are in the Goodspeed family, check in with them, see how they're doing in this weird time, and get to share a little bit of their work with you. So I am so thrilled tonight that we have Kit Yan and Melissa Lee with us. Kit and Melissa have been at the Mercer Colony, Mercer Grove, we're calling it now, before, and they've been on the Goodspeed campus, and they are two of the most exciting and just wonderful musical theater writers out there right now. So I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce you and your work to introduce I'm losing my mind. Introduce them and their work to you if you do not already know them. So let's have them join us. Kit and Melissa, come on in.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome. So first question, for our audience who doesn't know you both, where did your partnership begin? How long have you been writing together? I'm always interested in knowing how these kind of alchemical partnerships ended up coming into being.
Yeah, so as you can see, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, which is where Kit and I actually met. We met in, God, I don't actually know, Kit, when we met. It was a really long time ago.
2006 or 7.
2006 or 7, yeah, and we basically we were queer performers that were in Boston, and so we crossed paths, and then from there, I think we ended up doing a monthly queer Asian cabaret, and Kit came up to me backstage and was just like, "Hey, Melissa, like, what do you think about quitting our jobs and going on tour?" And I didn't know him that well, but I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And then Kit, you should tell the rest of this story.
Yeah, and then so we got into my 2006 Toyota Corolla, and with as much stuff as we could pack in it, we drove around the country to like 32 states maybe, and performed at festivals, colleges, universities, museums, on the street, like anywhere that would have us. We sort of set out with like a singular, pretty naive kind of goal, and we wanted to go out and find more people that look like us. And we thought if we went and performed our art, that we would find that, and that's what happened. And that's like the basis of our show, Interstate, which is I don't know if it's more or less dramatic than the real story. What do you think? Maybe
I
like
think it's more dramatic than the real. Well, actually,
yeah,
it's
hard to tell.
it's really hard to tell. It's hard to tell. But yeah, so we have been collaborating, I'd say, since 2008, and we've been writing musicals since about 8 years ago, 2012.
That's fantastic. And for those of you at home, Interstate is a really fantastic show that was featured in NYMF in
2018.
2018. Yeah. So some of us, me, got to see it there and just had a blast.
Wow, you went to the nymph version?
Hells yeah, I went to the NYMF version. Of course.
Cool.
Yeah, no. I had a great time. I mean, I just remember being in that, and I remember being in that audience, and one of the coolest, I mean, the show is the coolest thing ever, but one of the other coolest things ever was sitting in an audience that was full of queer people and Asian people, and you could feel the excitement of all of these people who didn't really get to see themselves represented on a stage very often, just responding to this thing that felt like it was for them and about them. And that's such a rare thing in theater, because obviously a lot of theater just looks the same and is about the same kind of people. So that is what I really will remember. If I could have just put a jar up and just captured the sort of energy that was in the air in the audience, it would have been just, it was a really special moment. So speaking of Interstate, we have something that we're going to share that's from that show, correct?
Yeah. We're
Do you
going to
want
share.
to set up as to what it is?
Sure. Yeah. So we have been, as everybody says, right now, like, theater's on pause and everybody has just been home, right? So one of the things that our good friend and also our music assistant, Bronwyn Chan, wanted to do was to get folks from what we call the Interstate family. So folks who have been in various versions of Interstate since 2012 all together to put together an a cappella version of one of the songs from Interstate.
And to set up the song a little bit, it occurs towards the end of Act 1, in which one of our protagonists, Dash Coy, who is a transgender slam poet, while he's on tour with Adrian Song, a lesbian singer-songwriter, and his best friend, they're backstage at a show, and he realizes something important.
All right, let's watch it.
I wanna try this on my own. I didn't mind being alone till the day she changed my life.
It wasn't one day, a chilly Sunday, last year's poetry slam. I had made it to the finals, made it all the way to the end.
My palms were sweating, my heart was dreading. Adrian was my #1 fan. She watched me lose the title to another white guy again. By just 2 points, I lost. She said, boy, I got you covered. Don't you worry, don't be sad. Don't be so sad. Me, took out a bag and what the hell is that?
She said, loser dumplings, dumplings only losers get.
Disappointment and regret never tasted so good. Each one made with love by hand, and now I understand. The thing about winning is not if I did, but that someone believed I could. She always pushed me, saw what I could be, believed that I could be great. She knew that I could create poems that could change the world.
Adrian knew this, said I could do this. Her voice a gift and my guide.
With her hand in mine, the look in her eyes showed nothing but love. But just 2 points away.
I lost 2 points, but look what I gained.
She said, thank God you didn't win, or this whole thing would have been tossed. Cause this girl anthem special for the boy who lost. She made me loser dumplings, dumplings only losers get.
Disappointment and regret never tasted so good.
Each one made with love by hand. Now I understand that the thing about winning is not if I did, but that someone believed. And I'm realizing it now. I've been such a fool,
And I'm realizing it now, what you have meant to me.
sometimes we don't notice the days passing by. I see your face in a different light. I know I love you, I really loved you this whole time. Loser dumplings, dumplings only losers get.
If I don't tell you, I regret not saying a word.
To be your man, I'll take a chance.
Now I understand that nothing about me is
Not if I did, but that one girl believed I
I think I added an extra bum in there.
Yay! I love that so much. I think it's such a great song, but also I think it's funny. It speaks to something that I'm finding about this time, which is that you can feel how much that is a community, even though everybody's in their own separate text boxes. There's something sort of ironic to me about the fact that none of the musical theater community, especially the sort of new and emerging musical theater community, which is so tight generally, they can't be together. And yet at the same time, I feel like the work that's coming out sometimes is showing how connected they are emotionally, like seeing everyone's cat and dog, like signing off and doing a little, it feels to me like it captures that magic of just hanging out with a bunch of people you really like and making something that's really good. So I'm so glad that we could share that.
I think that's also what's really nice about this time too, is that like all these folks may not have been able to go into a room, and even without the pandemic, right? It's like if we wanted to do something like this, it's like folks might not be able to do it, but because it's like in their own home at their own schedule, like we're able to put together something like this.
Yeah. And I was feeling so emotional watching the video because I think a lot of us just miss each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Missing each other.
Yeah, I think you can feel that in that video. It's also funny. I think, Melissa, your folding screen is going to be famous by the end.
Everyone knows this folding screen.
Well, I also have to ask about Kit. What's up on your wall? Not the lights, but the. It looks like you have a plot.
Well, there's a lot of hats behind me on the wall.
There's a hole in your wall also.
But what's the show? That looks to me like you've mapped out the plot of a show in your back wall in a very organized manner with color-coordinated index cards, which makes me very happy as a dramaturg.
This is my homework. I'm taking a TV pilot writing class. I had to see what it was because it switches a lot.
Mm-hmm. So this is a TV pilot that you're writing?
Yeah, this one's a TV pilot about a trans Chinese guy. Whoa, who would have thought?
I'm shocked.
Who wants to be a porn star?
I love it. Is this how you normally write? Are you the kind of writers who use this sort of index card, very organized, mapping it out visually system?
Yeah, it depends on what we're doing. I think if we're trying to figure something out that might needs to be moved around, then I think we do that. I'm more digital than Kit. Kit really likes to print everything out.
And
you're very non-environmentally friendly.
No, not at all.
I like to look at it on a computer. I'm like, oh, you just do that on a computer. But yeah, sometimes if we're plotting out something, it's just easier to get. That's actually what we did at Mercer when we were at Goodspeed too. We wrote a new draft and we had a whole thing laid out on the dining room table that we had. Yeah,
it was like this, but like 4 times as large.
Yep, I've definitely seen the Goodspeed housing full of. We should actually start like a photo project because I feel like just documenting what the process looks like would be kind of fun. It's funny. I also I'm with Kit. I like to see it and I like to tape everything out. And I did a project once where we had done this with the plot on this old Victorian house that we were doing this like residency in, and we used to call it house dramaturgy because we would come down in the morning and things would have fallen off the wall. So we decided that the house was making its feelings known, that, you know, if a song fell off the wall, like,
oh my gosh,
no, this song is out of the show. So we started to take, I mean, it started as a joke, but then we started to take it kind of seriously about this house does not like this song.
The house is a dramaturg.
Yeah.
The house had some good dramaturgy notes. So, hey, wherever you can get it, I don't know. So speaking of quarantine, I feel like you both have been, there's two kind of people in quarantine, the people who sort of curl up into a ball and watch a lot of historical costume dramas, which is mostly me, and the people who seem to take it as an inspiration or as a sort of push to make things in a different way or to make new things and make it work. Basically, it's a creative limitation that becomes something cool and inspiring ultimately. So it seems to me like you both are in the second field, right?
Well, there's two of us. There's two of us. So I feel like one of us is the ball, and the other is the do a lot of stuff. and you should guess based on our backgrounds who is who.
It's true.
I don't know. That could be a post-it up there behind you, Melissa. I don't know.
That is. I don't even know what that is. It's like a grocery list.
But so tell us a little bit about the work you've done, if indeed you've done some, although I secretly know the answer to this, in the past few months and how that came to be.
I was saying that we're both because when the pandemic first hit, we definitely were in that first camp. I don't even think I could watch TV. We didn't want to do anything because Interstate had just closed early, and we were just like, what is happening in the world? And why are you laughing?
It's like frantically like looking for jobs.
Oh yeah.
For unemployment, we were like, what's happening? That was like the first 2 months.
Totally. And then we kind of just like, I guess we ran out of freaking out to do because we started doing other things, like going back to work and making new stuff. But what was I think probably the New York Rep Commission that we are going to show a little bit of a clip from kind of jump started us back into making stuff again, which is probably the point of that. So that.
Well, will you tell us a little bit about what that process was?
Yeah, it was called Play at Home, and it was just like a series of commissions of 10. No, actually, there were probably 5 minutes for plays. I'm not sure other people did musicals like we did for it. Ours was like 10 minutes long, just like short pieces meant to be read out loud at home among people in the same household, or maybe I guess you could have done it on Zoom. And so New York Rep contacted us and asked us if we were interested in commission, and we wrote a 10-minute musical. And it was just like something we had always kind of wanted to write about, or a story that I had told Melissa about the false missile alert in Hawaii. And I was in Hawaii, so it was like kind of just top of mind at the time. And then we wrote that during the pandemic.
Will you tell us a little bit about what the false missile alert was for those of you who might not know?
I mean, I could. I wasn't there, but
you get a kick out of it more than me.
That never stopped me before. So, So apparently, Kit experienced this back in 2018. I actually don't know what month it was, Kit. I don't know.
It was like January, probably,
January
if I was home.
And then they got a alert that was like a missile is headed to Hawaii. Like, find cover. Like. Yeah, I don't actually think
this is not a drill,
but it did say this is not a drill, which is like the most alarming because you're like, is this a drill? It's not a drill, but turned out it was false. But so for 45 actually very harrowing minutes, I think folks didn't know what to do. Apparently, in some places, folks were like calling family in the mainland and just saying their goodbyes. There were tourists that were running around, actually quite frightening. And I think, Kit, you just ended up like having breakfast, or what were you doing?
I was hanging. I'd reconnected with a high school classmate who was essentially a stranger to me, and so me and this person were in the car getting the alert, and then we had a choice. We were like, do we turn the car around and go home? We have 10 minutes. We had arrived at the farmer's market, and that day we were supposed to volunteer at a taro farm. We were supposed to meet our friends and eat breakfast, and then walk to the taro farm and do our community work day. And we were like, okay, do we run into the shopping center and seek shelter? And then we actually just decided to go to the farmer's market and eat breakfast and see what happens.
You texted someone and that person told you, well, in this situation, you should dig a hole and get into it. And I think you considered that. I
thought about
it. Should I dig a hole and get into it?
Wow.
Turned out someone just pressed the wrong button, and that's just what happened.
If I can just make a request for future things you write about, I also would love to see a full-length or short musical, which is just a one-person musical about a person who has dug a hole in this scenario and then is just in that hole for the minutes as they stretch out, and clearly nothing is happening, or is the world destroyed outside the hole? It's like, I just see a kernel of a future show there in the Kit and Melissa Hole show.
It would be it could be an endurance musical.
Yeah. I like it.
Ending. Yeah.
So unfortunately, we can't share the whole 10-minute musical here, but we do have the song that is a part of it. And do you want to give a little bit of setup as to which character this is?
Sure, Kit.
Yeah. You do it. So let's see. It's we have our main character is named Wind, who has gotten into an Uber whose driver's name is Ari. They have just arrived at the taro patch, in which they're trying to get Wynn's grandpa Wally to get in the car and go home during the missile alert.
All right.
And and this
let's
song
see.
is by Grandpa Wally is singing this song, and yeah, that's
Cool. All right. So this is from Mayday, and let's see the song.
That's probably Mom calling you right now. Grandma, I'll pick you up and carry you if I have to.
I'm not leaving the Loki. Technology is too loud for Azuki. Have I ever told you the story of how I met your grandma Vihia?
Crouched on the ground. Come on, let's go. We only have 5 minutes left.
December 1941, we were keiki practicing May Day. Sounds of laughter, sounds of fun, showing off our step and sway. We were singing Paniolo Country, her grandma made me laugh. She tickled my ear, I was 8, Vihia 7.5. But the sirens blared as we danced in line, and we all knew it's not a drill this time. We dropped to the ground with fear, and Vihia, she whispered in my ear, do not be afraid. Everything's okay. We'll never have tomorrow. We only have today. Let's dance like it's May Day. I started to cry over all the things I still have yet to do. Play my pogs, eat hollow, learn double Dutch after school. Make a yellow ginger lay for mommy, catch papillo with my cousin Tommy. Vihia softly spoke as she held my hand. Things don't always go the way we plan. Do not be afraid. Everything's okay. We'll never have tomorrow. We only have today. Let's sing like it's May Day. We did not get hurt that day, but our world turned upside down. People died, our harbor was on fire. Families were torn apart, my home a battleground. The smoke was rising higher and higher. Take a look beyond those trees, bones still buried on the ocean floor. Every day we work the earth to restore the land to what it was before. What I learned in 1941 is you aren't what you've left to do. You are what you've done.
So Wind, it's up to you if you like leave. But my legs are roots. My limbs are trees. The only way to fight death is to live.
Do not be afraid. Everything's okay. We'll never have tomorrow. We only have today. Let's live like it's May Day. Let's live like it's May Day.
Oh, so beautiful. No, so even though you have been wanting to write about this, it seems to, for a while, it seems to me like this speaks directly to the experience of being in quarantine and a pandemic raging outside. Was that on your mind when you wrote this?
It probably subconsciously, since we wrote it during the pandemic. Maybe like the pressure of like just the pressure of something happening out of your control around you is certainly a feeling that we carried into the piece.
Yeah, and the message just feels so beautiful and resonant about, you know, everything will be okay, and it's what you've done. You know, I think we're all in this moment where we're trying to think of what we're going to do when this is over. Will things be different, especially in our industry? Will things be there for us to come back to? You know, I feel like that this is such a beautiful encapsulation of that. Why did you choose to include the lyrics in the video with it?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question. Well, I think, you know, I mean, Kit always loves a good karaoke song.
Oh,
so.
It was my dream come true to have the lyrics
dream come
there.
true too.
It's the only time it's ever happened that I've
for folks to follow along and sing along.
Yeah, I love it too. I think it's great. It's funny. We just did our virtual gala, and we had a song with the lyrics included, with the idea that people could sing along at home, and it would feel like you were together, even though we were all separated. So maybe it was subconsciously the same impulse, but it's really beautiful. So if people want to see the whole musical, is it available online?
Yeah.
It is
they could
available
search
online.
Mayday Musical on YouTube, and it'll probably show right up.
Yeah, I think it's still being broadcast on New York Rep's channel. So yeah.
Great. So that's New York Rep and Mayday, and I really recommend it to our audience. It's really a lovely, lovely piece. And so this is the question that I sort of love asking all of our writers at the end of these events. Is there anything from this time that you hope continues when things go back to normal? Is there any lesson you've learned or thing that you want to take into your practice from this particular strange year?
Yeah, I feel like the one that comes to mind for me the most, like in our work, we're often asking like who isn't at the table and who are the stories for and why are we telling the stories, and like you mentioned earlier, oftentimes our audiences are full of folks who do not always see themselves in the theater. And I think the pandemic has asked that question of us even more. Like, there are so many people in our communities, queer and trans people of color, who maybe don't leave their house for a certain reason, or do not access space in the same way, who are our folks who are like older or disabled, or who have like mental health things that prevent them from going out into the theater. And now everything is sort of on the same plane. Everything lives online, and I think that has made us, has asked us to ask the question, like, how can we include even more people in the spaces that we're building?
100%. Like, I want to echo that. I think for me too, same thing. It's like accessibility and inclusion is really important. And like, I've also noticed how during the pandemic, like, art didn't stop being made, right? Like, folks were adapting and adjusting, and I think like we really should carry that spirit even when we're back, like, of like, you know, how can we include more people? Like, in what ways can we, you know, continue to be inspired to make work even under really tough circumstances? And yeah, I think really like taking away from this the inspiration that like folks were able to create some really amazing things during this time.
I think that's such a great answer. And yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think those are really beautiful points. So thank you for making the beautiful art you have made during this quarantine. Thank you in advance for making the art that I know you will make in the future. There's a show that I can't even get started with this because we're at the end of the thing, but Kit and Melissa have written a show that I love so much that's currently in development, and I don't even want to like go down that path. Well, I'm just gonna leave it as a teaser. Our audience is gonna wonder what it is, and someday we'll be able to share more of it. But thank you both for coming on In the Home Office. Oh, hi, Sue.
Oh, hi, Sue.
And please, I mean, as soon as we're all up and running, I hope that we can have you back on Goodspeed campus and share more of your work with the Goodspeed audience. So thank you so much for coming tonight, Kit and Melissa.
Thanks so much for having us. We can't wait for the day to be reunited at Goodspeed.
Oh, someday. And to our audience at home, thank you for joining us so much. This is our season finale, as it were. We're not going to do another In the Home Office until maybe next year. We don't know. Who knows anything? But it has been such a joy to be able to share some of our writers with you, some of the people in this wonderful community making things. As I say at the end of every one of these, please stay engaged with this world and with this art. You can find so much wonderful stuff online. These artists are making things. As you saw, May Day was something that was created over this time. And this will all be here when we're back in theaters. But, you know, find out who these wonderful artists are and support them with your eyeballs and with your ears and with your hearts, because theater could use all the support it can get. Goodspeed can as well. Please, if you want to donate some money to us, we will do our best to provide a home for these projects and for these artists when we can all be together again, and until then. So thank you all for sharing tonight, and I'll see you soon. Bye.